Well, hello, hello, hello. Good night, everyone. It's so good to see you. It's always a pleasure being here with you on Friday evening, on Wednesday evening. Why am I saying Friday? On Wednesday evening for more on advancing the cause. I know, we've had so much happening, and we're going to share with you quite a lot of what we know and what we feel, how we feel, and to say exactly what has been happening and what are some of the solutions that we have to offer. Let me start off first by saying happy birthday to quite a lot of people who celebrated their birthdays during Star Wednesday. Let me say to you, call up your neighbors, call up your aunts, your uncles, call up everyone. Let them know that advancing the cause is on. And you know what? That I want you to pause. Just thank you to God for sparing your lives. And while you're in the process of doing that, let me make quickly a couple of shout outs. I noticed Poor People Governors in the house, Jason Adams, Seema Williams, we have Unita Mohan, we have Lawrence J. James, Verlin Ward. Look, good night, Joe. Just call up somebody else and tell them, oh, what we do here is we give you the as plain as it is. We don't go around. We give you the truth as it is. So this is on advancing because we are at this evening. And if you noticed what our topic for this evening is saying, I know the operator is going to put it up just now, he's going to put it up on screen. But our topic this evening is about 4 years under the PPPC. 4 years under the PPPC equals death, corruption, and fire. 4 years under the PPP, 4+ years, I must say, under the PPP. And this is what we have had. So let me go quickly to our birthdays. I'm celebrating a birthday yesterday was my dear mother. She has celebrated yesterday her 75th birth anniversary. And we are so happy that we have her with us still. Many persons are happy to have their mothers, but they don't have them here. But to you, my mom, happy birthday. It's a whole year, like I told you yesterday, that you have to celebrate. And we're going to make this year quite an awesome one. 75 years old yesterday. I know we have some friends today who celebrated birthday. Miss Dorella Williams is celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday to you as well. And I know that you are, 46, 47 years old. You still got a far way to go. So happy birthday to you. And I'm hoping that you would have had a good day today. The day before, we had some other birthdays. I'm trying to remember the names. They're juggling my memory at this time. But look, for those who would have said and from last Wednesday, this Wednesday, happy birthday to you. May God continue to bless you and may you be successful in every single thing that you endeavor to do. Just remember to be careful. Just remember to watch your health and just remember to be as kind as possible. And that will see you through. So happy birthday, Dennis Booker. I see you. So tonight we're going to talk about everything on the, but of course, so my forever friend, Dr. Evelyn, who is going to be right here with us, and we're going to have this be we feel that pain for you. I know you're still wanting to have your mother here. So yes, we have Mark here. Mark, how are you doing this evening? How is
I'm
it at
fine.
your end?
I am fine, thank you. It's a bit cold, but
Don't hear you.
um, it's a bit cold. Can you hear me?
Right.
It's a bit cold, but I can't complain. I'm alive. But before I go any further, I would just like to wish your mom a happy birthday, a happy 75th birthday, 75 years young. And I'm quite sure she had a splendid time yesterday. And I
Mhm.
wish she lived to see many, 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 many more.
Thank
So
you.
I'm perfectly well. Thanks.
Well, Mark, I'm always happy to have you because at your end, you're 5 hours ahead of us. And so this here, viewers, is commitment and dedication to seeing the backs of the PPP because we're here at 6:30, 6:38, and 5 hours ahead of us is where Mark is, but he is still taking the time off every other week to being here with us. And Mark is not just Mark is a medical doctor. So you can understand how much it pains his heart when he sees the kinds of nonsense that is happening within the health sector. But before we go further, Mark, I would just want to extend our heartfelt condolences to those who have lost loved ones during this week. It's not easy to lose a loved one. And, sometimes we hear persons talk about, oh, well, they're old. Oh, but it's not easy to have that kind of separation, much more when they are young. It's even more difficult and much more heartbreaking. And so at this time, we want to, Mark and I, we're going to join in extending condolences, especially to the mother of the fireman who lost his life, 27 years old, who lost his life so tragically in the line of duty. We're going to talk a little more about that, but we want to ask you, our viewers, to pray for that mother, her only child. Pray for her. Ask, and for those who live around the area there in Melanie, if you can reach out as much as possible to her to give her that kind of strength, please do. Please do. So, Mark, here we are with
Yes,
the
here we are.
here we are, 4 years out of the PPP, death, corruption, and so, Mark, right away we want to start talking about this. I know there is so much. If we are to let's start talking about the deaths. We had 20.
20 deaths, and they haven't learned anything. 20 deaths at the Madia fire. We have deaths on the roads every single day. Every single day you open the papers, someone has died on the road. And people are completely clueless. They don't know how to actually address it. You had this unfortunate soldier who, sorry, not soldier,
The fireman.
fireman who went in this who died in his line of duty, which is very very unfortunate. So with people, it's just simply deaths all the time, just deaths and deaths and more deaths all the time.
But Mark, I as a government, I don't know what is happening with them. It clearly shows that they have no plan. They just don't know what to do. All they're interested in is the word that begins with C and ends with S, N, or S sometimes if we want to put it to the extreme.
That you want
Corruption,
political
that's their
power.
thing. Corruption. And maybe that's what the C in the PPP is for. The C at the end there.
Definitely.
Maybe that's what it's for, corruption. But Mark, let's talk a little more about these debts. We have seen under the PPP, we've had the issue of if we're gonna look, if we're gonna zero first in the health sector. We knew before 2015, May 2015, we used to have the doubling up of the beds, doubling up on the beds and patients in the hospital. We had lots and lots of prenatal, we had lots and lots of maternal deaths.
Maternal deaths, yeah.
We had lots of, what do you call it? The young babies who die, have the medical term for it.
Postnatal.
The postnatal ones. We had so many persons going into the hospitals and for frivolous illnesses. they die. And one wonders what is happening. During the term of the coalition, we had there, I remember when Valda Lawrence went to visit one of the hospitals, I think it was in Region 3. Maybe you would be able to help us. Region 3, I think it was, when she saw it doubling up on the beds,
Hospital beds.
mothers doubling up on beds, pregnant mothers doubling up on beds. She said, no, no, no. Engage the IDB, I think it was then.
Yes, and PAHO. And she went about it. What she actually did, she contacted these international bodies, and she actually was able to get beds to be distributed into the hospitals. And as a result, you had this whole process where people were doubling up of bed was completely alleviated. But people came into power, and they just didn't know how to take care of patients in hospitals. So as a result, patients end up staying in hospitals longer than they're supposed to actually stay in hospital. And as a result, you have more patients in the hospitals than you have hospital beds. So you have the doubling up on beds. But it's much more than the doubling up on beds in hospital. We were talking about the maternal deaths. Maternal deaths is definitely on the increase. And again on the Apple AFC, they engaged PAHO, and with PAHO they work along with some of the best specialists in Guyana, the late Dr. Gobin, and others were actually involved, and they developed policies and guidelines to address this whole issue of maternal deaths. And maternal deaths was actually on the decrease. And PPP completely failing to realize if it isn't broken, don't try to fix it. And they just completely came into power, they were installing power in 2020, and they changed the policy completely, in which as a result, maternal deaths are on the increase. The other issue that they have is the increase in the neonatal deaths. Only the other day we had this unfortunate case with this Brazilian girl whose baby died, and one consultant, I think, was terminated, and 2 junior doctors were suspended. But the whole person has to take responsibility for that is Frank Anthony, because Frank Anthony is responsible for employing all these doctors who are completely incompetent, and it's Frank Anthony's responsibility. So the deaths that we have to deal with basically are maternal deaths, natal deaths on the PP, Mario, the death of the soldiers, and the deaths on the roads. That PP is completely clueless and don't know what to do about it.
But you sometimes don't find words. I'm seeing that Denise telling us today, she was viewing the funeral of the mom and the daughter who died, and it's so very sad when you have a mother dying with the or the mother dying or the baby dying. I mean, what is it that they cannot on of the coalition? We had that was reduced significantly. You had happened since the PPP is back in office. What is it? And nurses, same doctors, we just don't know what seems to be going wrong every time the PPP comes into power.
Because the whole issue with PP basically is that they're focusing on the wrong things. They want to focus on the complicated surgeries, the sophisticated surgeries, and they fail to realize that would actually save lives in hospital that are the basic things. Look at this soldier, for example. He had head injury and he had a neck injury. What he's supposed to have done is place a collar around his neck so as to protect his neck if he has a neck injury. And what he's supposed to have done is to place him on a very hard board called a spinal board so as to protect his spine. You imagine this is a hospital that's doing transplant for kidneys. There's a hospital that's doing heart surgery. There's a hospital that's doing coronary angiograms. There's a hospital that's doing new brain surgery, and they don't have the basic things like a neck collar to place around this fireman's neck because he has a neck injury, and they don't have this hard board, the spinal board, which would cost approximately about 300 US for one. And we living in an oil economy. You can't tell me that in an oil economy we can't buy spinal boards and we can't buy cervical collars for patients with spinal injury. So this soldier's death was completely avoidable. If they had done the right thing, you would have been alive to the table. But because of people being incompetent, that's the reason why he died.
I'm sure the operator put up the picture of that. And his head today, and to carry through with pain. And you know what we're going to hear? There's investigation on the way. That thing you're going to hear. As a matter of fact, the news firemen were in that fire was no other newscast carry that. And you know, it's amazing that these other newscasts from iNews, buddy, some stupid and vexatious things they carry, but an issue that is as serious as this. I noticed some. Maybe you could indicate in the comment section if you're hearing us. Then we'll probably have to just look at it. It's probably they always do this to us when we're trying to have our program. But like I was just going to say, here was injured, and the government, this wasn't a big thing to have put on the air for people. All we saw the Maze, which is a private school, and we're going to come to that in a minute. And this young man was out there doing what he knows best to do. The call of duty, trying to save other buildings around, and murder. Now, I mean, come on. That painful episode coming from the mother, where she said negligence killed her son. Her son was left there. Now, talk to a mother at this time. Of course, like what they did with the Mahdia fire, we're going to take over we will cover the funeral expenses. Is that enough? Are you hearing me now? Somebody said something is Muslim. Is saying something is Muslim? Are you hearing me better now? Is the sound better now?
The sound is better. I can hear you.
Okay, good.
It was a bit broken earlier.
Maybe because the mic, it was shifting and shifting. Put it somewhere stable.
Or it's PPP.
Well, you know, right? Because when they don't block us out here, give us power outage. The power outage, they interfere with all the equipment here. Too much crackling. I think it's because of the mic. It's probably the mic. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the mic that is cracking and so on, according to what's out there. Let's see if we get this right in a minute. Just give us a minute. And while you're giving us that minute, just call up your friends. Let them on. Just call them up. But as I was saying, it is painful. It is
painful. Very, very painful.
Check the connection of the mic. Well, Mark, I guess you could go ahead while I fix my end here.
The budgetary allocation for health was 1.48 billion, 143 billion was the allocation for health. And you can tell me, how is it possible that with all those billions, they cannot afford to buy spinal boards for patients with spinal injuries, and they cannot afford to buy hard collars for patients with spinal injuries? It is very sad, it's very unfortunate. So I completely concur
And
with
I saw first
Sean's mother when she said it's down to negligence that caused her
people
son
who
to die.
pass through the school system.
I'm here, I'm getting a feedback.
We're
So it's down to
let's
negligence basically that caused our son to die in an economy, or an economy that don't have these basic things, and they're speaking about doing these sophisticated operations, these sophisticated surgeries, and they boast on how we have a world-class health center. I remember our friend Ali went to the Middle East, and he boasted on how he provides us first-class primary care, first-class secondary care, first-class tertiary care, and we have some of the best health care in the Caribbean. And the best health care in the Caribbean cannot treat someone with simple spinal injuries, and of course, the spinal injuries have to die as a result. That is very, very unfortunate, and that's very unforgivable. And if I was the mother, I would sue the hospital, because the hospital is responsible for her son's death. They're saying they're going to do an investigation, but we all know when people do investigations, they don't actually mean anything. They just do investigations and they cover it up. We see it. We see the helicopter crash, for example. They've done an investigation, and we still are waiting the report to come back. We haven't heard anything about the helicopter crash as yet. And they're always talking about investigation and investigation, but we don't get the reports of these investigations. So I'm quite sure if they to do an investigation into this unfortunate death, the death of this young man, we wouldn't actually get a report of the investigation that is done. As a matter of fact, the investigation would be a complete cover-up, an unfortunate cover-up, and that's what PUP is about, covering everything up, basically. Correct? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me better now? Is the sound better
Yes.
now?
Yes, I'm hearing you better.
Oh, good. So I knew exactly what it was. So we've changed our mic, and we have a better one now.
Mhm.
But like I was saying, Mark, this fireman has died. The only child for his mother. I mean, I felt that one.
I felt it
27 years
myself
old.
because
Be,
I have a
you know,
daughter. I have an only daughter, and if anything is to
you
happen
know,
to her, my whole world would collapse. So I can
I
imagine
I
the kind of pain she's going through. I could just imagine it.
I'm seeing viewers here saying the Georgetown Hospital can't even fix a headache, much less a spinal injury, which is a fact. And what is damning is that
Mhm.
the health ministry in Guyana, the Ministry of Health, they have been allotted billions of dollars coming out of
143
last
billion.
year's budget and this year's budget, and a simple and an equipment like MRI equipment, we can't buy it. And you know why we can't buy that? Simply because we are part of what happens in the private sector. So the money
Mhm.
is always going over to the private sector. Now, we have hospitals here, we have premier hospitals, but we're not seeking to make these hospitals state of the art hospitals. We run in to build more hospitals, which we don't have a problem with. But come on, fix what you have already. You already have structures there. You already have a system. Fix it. For heaven's
Mhm.
sake, fix it. It is disgusting to see Georgetown Hospital. I mean, we had a doctor who spoke about the health center where a simple thing like a blade, gloves, they had to go
Gloves,
buying from their own pockets.
paracetamol,
What is Frank
Tylenol.
Anthony doing? Frank Anthony should be going home. All
The
these
whole
debts.
people should go home.
And you know what will happen? You'll get a military funeral, 1 year's
For 1 year's
salary,
salary,
and then
yeah,
they
and that's
finish
it.
with you. That's it. That's it.
And the mother has to deal with her mental anguish of her
Yep.
son having died, unfortunately, and his son not supposed to die, because I keep repeating it and I keep repeating it ad nauseum. That boy hadn't supposed to die. If they had done the right things, if they had had a spinal bone to transport him, if they have had a cervical, a hard cervical collar to put around his neck to protect his spinal cord, he wouldn't have died. But we haven't. We had a budget that was passed the other day, 143.2 billion pounds to health. Where is this where is this 143 billion actually going to? Where is it going to? Nobody knows.
No, we know it's going into somebody's pocket, into people's pockets. That's where it's going, because we can't have an MRI machine at the Georgetown Hospital. We can't have one. So every time a patient has got to do an MRI, you have to transport them to one of the private hospitals to go there and do it. And we can't have one at Georgetown Hospital. We can't have one at the New Amsterdam Hospital. We can't have one at the hospital in Linden. We can't have one at Fort Wellington Hospital. But we hear the talks all the time. Oh, we're doing well. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, we're doing that. You know, this kind of nonsense has got to stop at some point. And viewers, you are the ones who will have to stop this kind of nonsense, because we're going to have many more of our children dying, many more of our mothers dying, many more of our grandmothers and grandfathers dying due to negligence. And this here is done on purpose, I would want to say, because simple things like these you can't get.
I don't know if you recall, about a few years ago, there was this boy who had a quarrel with his father, his stepfather, I think, and his stepfather stabbed him in his thigh. And they took him to Georgetown Hospital, and Georgetown Hospital, I don't know what they did. They decided to take him to the COVID hospital because they said he had COVID, and the young man died. The young man died. Yep. There was a young girl who went to GPH with abdominal pains. And as a result, she died because of her abdominal pains, because they were completely clueless. Yep. And we can. There's a long list of patients who would have gone to Georgetown Hospital and who would have gotten poor care and died as a result. And yet they aren't doing anything to address this issue with Georgetown Hospital. They aren't holding doctors to account. The politicians are not being held to account. The medical council is completely politicized.
Yes.
And they're not holding doctors to account. They're not holding they're not holding the politicians to account, actually. So it's just unfortunate. Patients actually go to hospital, and we have to hear these sad stories of people dying having gone to Georgetown Hospital.
And you know, Bantu, I couldn't agree with you more. People power is what we need. People power is what we need. But Mark, we've got to talk a little more about this whole issue of these fires. Since the PPP came into office, we've had so many fires. Fires at private homes, fires at schools, fires at other places, buildings, business places. Something, I don't know what is it about fire, but we got to talk a little more about this fire. Priya Manik-Chand, as Minister of Education, it's the first time in the history of this country that we've had so many schools.
School fires.
Christchurch, you remember?
Yeah, Christchurch, Northwest Multilateral, Northwest Secondary.
St. George's.
St. George's.
Yep.
The Madia.
Yes, Madia Durham's.
Durham, that's fine. And there's one more I can't remember.
Amelia's Ward Primary.
Amelia's Ward.
All of these schools have burnt while the PPP are in office. During all this time, from 2020 to now, all these schools are burning. Now, one of the things that I took note of, Mark, and viewers, you need to hear this. One of the things I took note of is the fact that Christchurch Secondary was burnt. I can't recall seeing the president there having a meeting with the parents and the teachers when Christchurch was burnt. I couldn't recall hearing solutions popping up quickly when Christchurch was burnt. What I know for sure is that the students from Christchurch, they were moved to CPC, one of CPC's building in that complex at Lilliandale. Nobody took into consideration the extra transportation that parents will have to pay for their children moving from the East Bank, Region 3, and Georgetown to get there to Christchurch. I didn't hear the Guyana Defense Force coming out to offer assistance to them in terms of putting down 2 large tents here. St. George's Cathedral, St. George's Secondary was burnt. You know what happened? That school was dissolved. The children were sent here, there, and everywhere. The teachers were sent here, there, and everywhere. We had Diamond Secondary burning too. And you did not see the kind of inclusivity and the kind of attention being given to these other schools. But I'm looking at Maize that was burnt. I could have counted the number of education officials who were out there. I saw government ministers streaming down there. I saw loads and loads of fire tenders streaming down there. And one wonders, why is it that we were paying? Why all of this attention was given to Maize, which is a private school? I mean, to offer help is good, but one has to ask the question, why all of this attention was given to this particular school and it was not given to the other schools? Why is it? But you know what? Many of us know the stories, and some of you know the story well out there, because it is alleged that a particular minister is part and parcel of the ownership of this school. And that's okay, but they have other persons fronting. But you know what I found very, very disgusting, Mark and viewers, is the fact that this private school, and there might be many others, the building was not insured. 1,000 learners or students were attending that school, and that building was not insured. I am wondering too, maybe they had no smoke detectors, no fire alarm systems. They probably didn't have fire extinguishers. Now, is this the way we want to continue to use to send our children to school? Now, I heard this morning that at the nursery level, a child has got to pay $70,000 per term. I think it's $70,000 per term. That's at the nursery level. We're not talking here the primary and the secondary level, but this is what is being paid at the nursery level. And this is the kind of condition, this kind of insecurity you want to have your child go into. But I noticed the Ministry of Education, they are hanging down the public schools. They had teachers in the public schools, but the private schools, they're allowed to go free. No insurance. Now, you know, this God, let me say, this God is a good God. This God is a good God because he allowed on that day. We want you to show that very, put that image up for us, operator. God is a good God. You know what he did? He did not allow many of the children to be at school at that time, you know, because we would have had Madia number 2 if that had happened. It was early, and so many of the children weren't there. I mean, is that the way we want to have our children operating? And then I want to put some lashes on the Minister of Home Affairs, Mark. Mm-hmm. They don't send the fire service out there to inspect these schools to know what is happening there, to ensure that one would have thought that they would learn from the Madia issue and they would put proper systems in place. This man must go too. So while we're saying Priya must go and Frank Anthony must go, this man must go as well, because you had 20 innocent lives that went down the drain there. There was a report. At first, they said the fire service had indicated to them that those barriers, those grills must come off those windows, mm-hmm. and so on. Nobody heeded it. 20 died. Now we got Maize, no insurance. I'm mm-hmm. hoping that others are taking note. But again, when we look at what has happened at Maize as against what has happened at other schools, it is clear that the elite will always be the elite, and that the ordinary Guyanese children will continue to be ordinary Guyanese children. So while you hear them preaching this one Guyana thing, is now one Guyana, it's 2 and 3 Guyanas we got in this country, not one Guyana. And that is very disgusting. So because you have money and you can go to a private school, those who go to the public school, they are not worthy of your attention. Mr. President, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself, because you could have engaged the parents and the teachers of Mays, but you couldn't engage the teachers of Christchurch Secondary.
Or
You
St.
couldn't engage
George's.
the teachers of Northwest and the parents secondary, Amelia's Ward Primary, North Rumvelt, St. George's Secondary. You couldn't engage them, but you were ready and available to have 2 engagements and to offer quick solutions. The Guyana Defense Force, you were ready to offer tents, but you're not ready. You weren't ready to offer tents when it was Christchurch. And these are the things, viewers, that we must look at. This cabal is no good for Guyana. No good. No good, and we've got to call them out.
Absolutely no good. I mean,
And
the
so-
point is, you would want to believe that people will learn. You would want to believe that Priya has a brain and she would learn. North Rumvelt Multilateral School burned down. They didn't have sprinklers. They didn't have fire extinguishers. They didn't have smoke detectors. They didn't have fire detectors. It burned down, burned flat to the ground. You would think that Priya would say, okay, we need to get these things into schools. St. George's come and burned down. St. George's, again, didn't have fire extinguishers, didn't have sprinklers, they didn't have smoke or fire detectors. St. George's burned down, the same thing. Northwest burned down, the same thing. Amelia's Ward Primary burned down, the same thing. When will Priya make it mandatory that all schools have fire extinguishers, all schools have water sprinklers, all schools have fire detectors and smoke detectors? When will she make it mandatory? When will she take responsibility and make sure that these things are installed in our schools such that the schools don't have to burn down? Would she wait until one school burned and 1,000 kids are burnt in those schools before she actually introduced it? She should have actually learned from the Maria disaster. The Maria disaster, 20 children died. 22 children died because of the fact that Priya Manichan was aware of the fire hazard the building was and did nothing about it. So the unfortunate thing is that schools will continue to burn. Schools will continue to burn, and Priya Manichan wouldn't do anything about it. And the only thing we can do about it is make sure that we vote her out of office. Vote people out of office, because they're completely clueless. Because Frank Anthony is clueless. Priya Manichan is clueless. Robson Ben is also clueless, and all of them have blood on their hands. All of them are responsible for what that is happening.
Well, I agree with you, and there's one commentator who would say, I am not responsible. I am responsible for what I say, but not what you interpret. And I would agree with that. And I would agree with the statement you're making, Mark. They're interested in what is theirs and their own, and to get more. Greed is the order of the day with these people. So they don't care how the ordinary working class get by and their children. And we're talking about the Guyana Defense Force.
Mm-hmm.
The helicopter crash. We're still waiting on the report. The helicopter crash. We're still waiting on the report. This helicopter here. This helicopter operator. You want to give us some sound? This one that couldn't be lifted off the ground. This helicopter, the helicopter that could not have been lifted off of the ground. We can't hear anything about it. And you know what? 5 generals, 5 heroes. We got 2 survivors. The other thing, we're not hearing anything about the 2 survivors. I don't know where they are. We don't know where they are. We don't know whether they're in Guyana or they sent them overseas, they're waiting, they say the black box damage. And for those of us who know about black boxes,
black boxes are encased in very, very tough boxes. Some very tough boxes are encased in, and it's difficult to damage a black box. Very difficult to damage a black box.
You know, while we're trying to get that helicopter there, the thing is, it is so disgusting that every time there's an incident, there's an accident, you hear about an investigation has been launched. Would an investigation repair the damage or undo what was done? Every time you hear about, as if to say, well, okay, we can tell them that, let it feel good. We can tell them, so let them feel good, let them feel good. An investigation has been launched. The fireman has died, an investigation has been launched. They've been 20th Maria, an investigation has been launched. There was a COI, and you know what they did? They threw the regional education officer under the bus.
Under the bus,
so
yes.
It's every time you find a scapegoat for your negligence and incompetence. Every time that's what we have. A scapegoat you always find for your incompetence and your negligence, and you don't know how to run a country. And these are the people who go out there and flounce themselves all around. All around they flounce themselves. But while we're waiting for that helicopter to come up on the screen, mark another bit that we have to look at. The GDF, they were ready to offer assistance to maize, but they couldn't offer that quick reaction assistance to 6 of their soldiers who were shot. Look how many hours they took to bring them down here.
Look how many days it took to bring them down. At least 24 to 48 hours it took to actually bring them down. And those guys were critically injured. 2 of them were critically injured. And it took so long to actually bring. The only reason why they survived is because they're soldiers and they're very young and they're very, very fit. That's the only reason why they survived that episode. But the government was completely negligent. And the fact is that these boys, imagine in an oil economy where we're boasting that how we're the fastest growing economy. We say richest economy per capita. And we boast about these things. And these boys had to be paddling in wooden canoes.
Yep.
Our army men are paddling in wooden canoes. This is just a complete joke. How could you go to war with a wooden canoe that you paddling in? It's just a complete joke. But PPP don't want to have a strong army. PPP refuse to have a strong army because a strong army, they feel the army will have an insurrection. And they feel that the army will uprise against them, failing to recognize that the army is our first sport of defense. So that they would never want a strong army. So they will always continue to underfund the army and to have them powerless when it comes to any confrontation with the Venezuelans or any confrontation with the Venezuelan gangs.
Mark, the thing that had me was the fact that you heard it was a canoe. I mean, how are we going to be able to stand up to Venezuela when we're dealing with a canoe? How are we standing up to Venezuela if we got canoes? Is what really wrong with these people? But you know what I want to say? I want to say, and I want all of our viewers, Rhonda, I see you. I want all of our viewers to start calling them out. We must send Priya, Anil, Jagdeo, Airfran, Robeson, Gail, Sonia, Susan, Charles, Zulfi, the whole pack of them we must send to the border. They must go and sit out there.
Put them on the front line.
They must go on the front line to sit out there, and they could bring Mia and Ralph with them too. Because they allowed Mia and Ralph to get them to sign foolish Argyle agreement. And what happened? And where is Ralph and Mia right now? 6 of our men could have lost their lives there. 6 sons, 6 husbands, 6 brothers, 6 uncles. They could have lost their lives there. And of course, you know, they don't know. They're saying it's Venezuelan gang. As if they've been there, they know though. And the time that foolish one, Jagdio, take every Thursday to be talking foolishness there for hour or two, he should be out there. He should be standing there with our soldiers. Put on some army fatigue or something and go and stand up out there. We've got to demand that these people stand and be accountable for the kinds of nonsense they do around this time. Barra Jagdio drawing free money and ain't doing anything that he's supposed to do. It is disgusting when we see $1.146 trillion budget and $1.3 trillion budget, and what is happening? None of that is reaching the ordinary man. None, absolutely none is reaching the ordinary man, except in cases where they come. I noticed they want Ejil. He gone to Kwakwani and sharing out black tanks like if it's Christmas time, black tanks. While our people are happy for the black tanks, why they couldn't have it last year or the year before or the year before? As a matter of fact, we should not even be using black tanks in this day and age. Mark?
It's an admission of failure. It's an admission of failure that they can't provide potable water. It's an admission of failure that they distributing these black tanks, and that's it basically, an admission of failure, that GWI is a complete failure.
Well, I sometimes want to talk about this guy, and sometimes I don't want to talk about him. This 1 p.m., 2 p.m. guy that we got.
Who is that?
I mean,
Mark?
He was a past brigadier.
Mm-hmm.
He was a past brigadier, and you don't see him offering any kind of assistance. You don't hear him speaking on behalf of these military men. And so he has got to be a 1 p.m., 2 p.m. guy and not a prime minister. He got to be a 1 p.m. and he's always, most of the times he's lost. We had them having discussions after they saw the Venezuelan vessel circling around the Exxon stuff there. He wasn't part and parcel of the group that were talking about defense. So it means that he got to be 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 5 p.m. He ain't worth anything in the eyes of Barra Jagdio and the others. And we got a bishop there saying he's a minister. He should have been offering prayers for the people. As a matter of fact, but he can't offer prayers because he's running from the supernatural powers, according to him, whoever they call them, that were at Cemetery Road. This man, these people are just so disgusting. Operator, I don't know if you have the bishop who talk about is it the supernatural powers he said?
The supernatural powers, when they were building the
this man supposed to be a bishop, but he probably worked selling fish, so he could be a fish up because he ain't doing anything. The soldiers were injured, not a prayer here for them. You don't hear this man saying that, oh, you know what? As a bishop and as a minister, let's have a day of prayer across this country. He can't say it because he's blind. And yes, Troy, he lost his way since 2020.
Before that,
oh jeez.
Before that, he lost his way. He has always been Mr. Clueless. Since he was with the ERC, he was Mr. Clueless.
But the talks they come out with, and he is clueless. I agree with you, because have you heard how many times Jagdio highlighted him?
Exactly, in terms of infrastructure work.
You're making too much noise, you're disturbing my meeting. Don't talk, shut your mouth.
Don't talk, yeah.
Then the other time Jagdio came out bold in front of the world to say,
infrastructure
you
contracts
are not
and
doing what
works
you're doing
are not
with
up to standard.
The work's not up to standard. And I blame the Ministry of Public Works. He didn't say Indar, he said he blame he. So this is what happens to them when they allow greed to blind their eyes. After a while, they can't say anything because they're consumed with the greed and the couple little crumbs that has been given to him. I mean, it's crazy when we look at these people. But viewers, as we go down, let's come off of the bishop, let's talk about this. We spoke about education with Maze, but we got to talk a little more about education. Why are we having so many schools where pigeons are creating havoc for our learners? When it's not pigeons, it's bees. Just today, I saw a child from region number 5 being stung by Africanized bees. I mean, look, we got operators going to show us this whole thing with these pigeons. We had pigeons at Charlestown Secondary, disrupted school for half of a week or 3/4 of a week, from Tuesday to Friday, no school. We got Kokwani Primary, no school. BV, Kwamina Primary, BV Secondary, Monrepos Primary. We got schools in New Amsterdam, schools on the quarantine, schools in Essequibo, all complaining about pigeon infestation. When it's not pigeon, it's fleas. When it's not fleas, it's mosquito. I mean, it's where we got to do with Priya. Where we got to put Priya.
Put her in the schools, so she could deal with the mosquitoes, the pigeons, and the pigeon dung. Put her in the schools, because it is just a reflection of the poor maintenance of the schools. If they're having all these problems with rats in the school, vermin in the schools, pigeons in the schools, mosquitoes in the schools, flies in the schools, snakes in the schools. The schools don't have potable water. If you want to flush the toilet, you have to fetch water to flush it. It's just absolutely pointing towards incompetence from the top.
And Mark, you're not even finished yet. We got schools with pit latrines. We got schools that are dry weather schools. We got school with poor lighting. I mean, you got electric wires sparking. I mean, what we doing? You got, I'm seeing somebody here saying you got bat infestation in the school, which is a fact too. Ah, boy.
The thing about it, if it was an isolated case where it was only one school, you could have possibly said, well, is that school has a problem? But when it's all over, when it's pervasive in lots of the schools, it's pointing towards a problem from the top. And the person at the top is Priya. And she's supposed to be putting systems in place to actually address that. But she's not putting any systems in place. Because her kids are not going to those schools.
Exactly. And then, Mark,
their
when
kids are going to Maze.
And when it's not that, with the issues at the schools, we got issues that are affecting our teachers and many, many public servants. The GOAL program. The GOAL program, Mark. Viewers, I don't know if you are following what is happening, but this whole GOAL program is a slush fund for the PPP.
Exactly.
It's a slush fund for them.
Exactly.
This whole GOAL program thing is a slush fund. And we must have a complete review of this GOAL program. We must know where we must know the names of the universities. We must know who are the lecturers or the professors at these universities, and we must have background information on them. But I get the impression, that some of the people who are the lecturers there might very well be some of our local people right here, might be some of the Ministry of Education officers. Lecturing.
My understanding is that lots of the lecturers had Indian accents, probably from India. Lots of them were from India, and they're saying that they're from the University of Staffordshire. And the University of Staffordshire is saying that we have no affiliations with either GOAL or ISDC, the third party. PPP seems to be a party that loves to deal with a middleman. I don't know if you remember from the COVID fiasco with Sputnik V, when they had a middleman. And then middleman, they had to pay 3 times the amount for the COVID vaccine, for the Sputnik V vaccine. Now they have a middleman, ISDC, for the GOAL program. We don't know how much I have to pay the middleman. It's time. It's long time. Time has long overdue for them to do an audit of this whole GOAL program. because it sounds like a slush fund. It sounds like it smells of corruption. It completely smells of corruption.
Now we got this professor. I mean, if this thing, all these students can't be lying. All these students can't be lying. Over and over, teachers have complained about the timing at 1 o'clock in the morning is when they have to be in classes.
Mm-hmm.
They have complained about the language barrier. They've complained about their assignments not being marked. They've complained that they only have work being sent to them and they don't know where to send the work when they would have completed. And we got Professor Obadiah saying, oh, it is not fake. Now the university came out and said, we don't know anything about this. The university came out and said, we don't know anything about this. Wait, operator, could you put that man's picture up so that our viewers can see? This is the man who said that it's not fake. And the people who own the university said it's fake. We don't know anything about it. And then here what they boil down to say now, they're having talks with somebody else, and you students can now go over. If they want to continue, they can do it another way. But lots of time was
wasted
lost
time.
already.
Wasted their time and their funds.
Lots of time would have been lost. Now my thing is, why is it the PPP always believe in going through a middleman? Who is this middleman or middlewoman? Is it Priya? Is this middlewoman? And Jagdio is the middleman? Mm-hmm. You remember, like you said, with the COVID vaccine, they went through a middleman and bringing stupid vaccine, forgive the people, let me put it like that, a vaccine that was not recognized
by WHO.
By WHO, the governing body, and you going through a middleman to bring stupidness, and his money is paying, is not free, you're getting it. So who was the middleman there, and who getting a cutback from that middleman? You see, this is the dishonesty in these people. They believe in a corruption. They believe in corruption. Jagdio, Priya, all of them believe in corruption. I'm seeing somebody else telling me here now, bees infestation over Providence Primary. Now, we had Winford Gardens Primary, then Lachman Singh Primary, now it's Providence Primary. I mean, you notice how all of these things back it up. These catfish people ain't no good for this country, I'm telling y'all, you know. These catfish people, no good for this country. When it's not bats, it's bees. Well, it's B for Barrett, B for bees. B for Barrett, B for bats. I mean, B for Barrett, F for fake. Lord have mercy. But what were we really doing in this country? Viewers, you've got to get up. You got to signal to everybody, and don't let this crazy man come out to tell you all kinds of foolishness, because he knows how to come out there and to polish up the things to say, oh, this is not so, that is not so. But I know right now he's skipping, he probably ain't even sleeping nighttime because the Mohammed's got him on his toes right now. But there's another story. That's another story. Mohammed's got him busy every day calling the Mohammed's name. But I want to know, I really want to know, this director of gold, this director, Professor Obadiah, he must tell us. This man want to tell us that he's not aware of what is happening. That's what this man want to tell us, Mark.
I mean, he's trying to give the impression that he was completely in the dark. But the whole thing about it points towards a fraud, because they were actually giving lectures and the students were actually saying the PowerPoints that they were using didn't have the University of Staffordshire logo, and the lecturers they had weren't really up to standard. They didn't seem affair with the learning material. So people they started initially to question the lecturers, and as a result of these questions, that is when they went forward and they started bring forward their concerns as it pertains to this whole program. And that's how come they get to realize that it has no affiliation with the University of Staffordshire. because it was Starbuck News, and I think they went to Starbuck News to complain, and then Starbuck News emailed University of Staffordshire, and University of Staffordshire come back and said, we have no
They don't
connection with
know.
ISDC, this middleman. We have no connection with gold. And then Jack Deus comes and said, oh, it's not fake. Believe me, it's not fake. But if anyone's going to it will believe Jack Deus when he says it's not fake. But we all know it was just a big scheme. For example, they said they had 378 persons graduated PhDs from gold.
Mm-hmm.
378 graduated PhD from gold. Oh, close to 30,000 graduated last year from gold. The question is, are these certificates worth the paper that they run? With all these controversy that we hear now, these certificates worth the paper that they run. And if I had to hazard a guess, I would say they don't worth the paper that they run. They absolutely have no value because it was fake all the way.
Well, Mark, I don't know if you look at this young man's face properly. Viewers, y'all look at this man's face. Look at his face and you know that he lying. Look at his face properly and you know that he is lying. Mm-hmm. But you know what? He got to cover up because he got to drink soup at the end of the day. So that's why he got to cover up. But I would want to say to you that this gold thing with some of these universities that they're talking about, they are branches and annexes of the University of Iflot. Mm-hmm. That's what I know. That's what I know. All of them university that they got there, they are branches of
University of Iflot.
Of the University of Iflot. And it's not, let me tell you, it's not a little bit of money, It's not a little bit of money. It's $8.4 billion over the last 2 years,
2 years, yeah, $8.4 billion.
$8.4 billion over the last 2 years. And could you imagine the same monies that we gave to the university last year was the same monies that were allotted to our University of Guyana was the same amount that was allotted to gold last year. What a shame. What a shame. What a shame. It is so disgusting that some of these people got to really, really lie and sing for their breakfast and their dinner. And it's integrity has gone out the door for some people. It has gone really, really out the door. So our education sector is in crisis. It's bleeding. It's hemorrhaging. Our health sector
is in crisis.
Is hemorrhaging. Mark, what are you going to say about our security sector? Viewers, what you're saying about our security sector?
Our security sector is completely in the dark. Completely in the dark. Sometimes I pray and I wonder if Venezuela ever is to invade us, what's going to happen. We'll be completely defenseless because our security sector hasn't any resources.
I don't know. And the Guyana Defense Force received $54 billion. $54 billion they received. Mm-hmm. What do they do with these monies? What have they done? We're gonna have to ask Omar what happened to all of these monies. Omar, you will have to start answering what happened to these monies. $54 billion. You don't have money to pay the teachers and the nurses, but the army got $54 billion and they don't even have a proper helicopter. They got canoe boats.
Wooden canoe boats.
It's better to take some bicycle. I'm almost certain I could bet a lot of monies that the boats that David Granger had given to the people, they were far better than those canoe boats. I am certain about that. I am certain about those boats that David Granger had given to the villages, the villages in the hinterland. They were far better than the canoe that the soldiers traveling in. But you know what? We heard that our soldiers were shot, but there has not been any update on whether they're recovering well, whether they would have been discharged from hospital. We don't hear anything about these things. And Robson Ben is there all the time talking this and that and all kind of nonsense. I see today he said, any Venezuelan come over here or anybody who linking with them something, they're gonna be charged for treason.
For treason.
Robeson, you want to be charged for treason yourself.
I don't think you know what's the meaning of
want to be
treason.
charged for treason. Because you know what? Paper Shorts got killed. And you claim that the camera's not working. There's cameras on Main Street that you're supposed to have there working because the Prime Minister and the President living there. It ain't working. The drugs went out. The scanner wasn't working. The camera's not working. Nothing ain't working. All you got a police commissioner who retired, and then all you come and confirm him as police commissioner. I mean, all you a bunch of foolish people, you know. No wonder we having all the confusion in the country. Because everything is a fake something. All you come and dab something over it to make it look good. Like if it's a bring back brand new secondhand. Let me say that. People left and went away, resigned from the police force, resigned from the Guyana Defense Force, and you bring them back when you got in 2020 and you give them big positions. No wonder things can't happen. And so it's corruption in housing. Remember the CEO at housing?
Yeah.
So it's every sector.
Sherwin Graves.
Every sector in this country is a problem. Every sector. Sherwin Greaves. Sherwin must be working for some $500,000 a month, if so much. And Sherwin buying how much $1 billion in US, property
Mansion
in the US.
In America. 2 mansions.
And then the man resigned with immediate effect.
And he tried to convince us that when he resigned, it hadn't anything to do with the whole controversy and not an admission of guilt.
Who he talking to? I mean, not even the Venezuelans, some of them who don't understand English wouldn't buy that. They wouldn't buy that. So we got corruption at housing. Just
corruption in
the other
education.
Day we were talking about the corruption with all these homes that they're building and the cost for these homes and all this land that they're giving away to Tom, Dick, Harry, every friend of theirs, they're giving it away to. And they doubted. And boom, Sherwood Greaves appear in the limelight. Corruption at education.
With gold. Natural resources.
Hold on, let me finish education with gold. With the textbooks, wrong spelling, wrong multiplication table, but big monies pay. The feeding program is sickening. The water wash sandwich that you're giving the children complain about it, they're throwing it away. If you see the channel that they're doing, who are these people that we're employing to supply meals to our children? Have these people been screened? Do they have food handler certificate? What's really wrong with these people?
Do they know how to prepare
ordinary people? I sure Priya wouldn't eat some of the things what some of them children got to eat. She wouldn't eat that. Her CEO wouldn't eat that. Her PS wouldn't eat that. But you know what? All of this nonsense going on. So housing in problems, corruption and more corruption. Education in problems, corruption and more corruption. Health, marked as you own baby.
Health is in major corruption. For example, we have problems with the COVID vaccines. The COVID vaccine, we could go back to the time of the COVID vaccines and the middleman that used the COVID vaccines where they paid 3 times the amount of the value of the COVID vaccines. We see hospitals being erected and you see health centers being built and they cost one simple health center, looks like a 6x4 costing 100 million, hospital costing billions going up. Drugs, for example, you have drugs being paid for and drugs are not being delivered after they're being paid for. And you have lots and lots of corruption happening in health.
Well, and while you're having the corruption, poor people are dying. Poor people are dying. Poor people are dying while you're having the corruption going on. And then we got home affairs and our security and everything that in shambles. We had the PS there, May Thomas. You remember May Thomas?
Yes,
she has been sanctioned by the US government. But she's still receiving monies. still receiving monies. As a matter of fact, she's a central executive member of the
From the
People's
PPP.
Progressive Party, and she ranked higher than some of them who've been there for long. Huh? She's ranking higher than some of them who were there for long. So it's corruption in every sector. I don't know if some of our viewers will remember May Thomas, but we're gonna show you this pretty girl. This, we got to show you this pretty girl. You got to see this pretty girl. Quite a lot of these PSs. Quite a lot of these PSs. This is May Thomas.
Mm-hmm. So how the phone
Her visa was revoked, her cell phone confiscated, and then the Guyana government claimed that they really know what's going on. Could you imagine that? Barajagio, we're waiting for your turn. We are waiting for when you can get hold. Because you are part and parcel of all the nonsense that's happening. Then we got natural resources that in shambles.
214 million US that can't be found.
Oh.
And the blame Gosine. He had 2 weeks suspension or something to that effect. 2 weeks suspension without pay for 214 million that cannot be found.
And if it were a teacher, that teacher would have been dismissed. If it were a nurse, that nurse would have been dismissed. If it were a policeman, if you on this side, you would have been dismissed. If you were a Guyana Defense Force soldier and you were on that side, like what is happening with the promotions, promotions only come in the Guyana Defense Force and the Guyana Police Force once you're on the side of Barajagio. If you're not, then you're banished. No promotion for you. Because they feel if you're promoted, then you'll have some sort of you'll have an authority over some of the ranks, and then you can organize with the ranks to have a revolution or whatever else you want to call it. So certain people in the Guyana Defense Force, no promotion for them, no promotion whatsoever. And then we got human services, corruption to the max there. We had a PS from there who resigned with immediate effect too. When there was the scandal of the old age pension books that were being photocopied, the public assistance books that were being photocopied, and they were cashed, but they had the stamp. So the PS Nami, she resigned with immediate effect. Now, there's a rule that says if you resign with immediate effect, not giving 1 month's notice, because of the level that you're at, especially for that of a PS, then you lose all your benefits. But I don't see that happening here. PS resigned with immediate effect. Now PS is at GRA. PS is at GRA now. I think she's head of the human resources sector. She's a human resource manager there. I mean, sometimes you gotta look to the stars because you can't find the answers. These people are just bent on being corruption. And so it's corruption from the top right down to the bottom. Right down to the bottom is corruption. I mean, and then Mark, we can't go without talking about GCOM.
Oh no. Do we have to? Just now you use a very big word, integrity. And when you mention integrity, the first person that came to my thought is Coretta Singh. Because she's a woman without any integrity whatsoever. She wants to have an election where the voters list is 91% of the population. The voters list has 730-something thousand people, electors, and the population of Guyana is 800,000. So the percentage of the electors to the population is 91%. She wants to have an election with that voters list and trying to convince us that we don't need biometrics. I want to convince us that she has integrity. Look at her and you tell me if you believe she has integrity.
I had a lot of respect for this woman, but I've lost it completely because I was part of the recount. And she said to us in those booths, those ballots without the requisite document will not be counted. She said that to us one day. And then the next day, the woman came and the woman said, all will be counted. So
She has no integrity.
how do you have faith in a woman like this? How do you trust a woman like this who doesn't stand up to anything that is right? How? And if you've been noticing what is happening, every time they have a meeting at GCOM, she votes with the PPP. So how can
She
we trust
aligns
her?
herself with the PPP.
I mean, since before 2015 or somewhere by 2015 there, Bharat Jagdeo was there hammering for biometrics and a clean voters list. And now Claudette wants to tell us that the time is too short. Then Claudette, you should pack up and go. You're not worthy of sitting there as a chairman. Go. Since 2015, you were there. And now you want to tell us that we must go to an elections without biometrics? You're crazy or what, Claudette? And that same fraud voters list? Not this time, Claudette. Not this time. And you know what disturbs me even more is the fact that you don't hear any cry from Mia Mortley and Ralph Gonzalez and the OAS. They've all made recommendations. All of them have made recommendations. And so we must call these people out. As a matter of fact, I must repeat what I said a couple of months ago. We must not welcome these people in our country because they're coming here, joining with the oppressors to oppress us even more. They're coming here to labadouche themselves, like the young people would say, in our country, get the best, and we got to be suffering. Look what they did to the people in Mocha. Not a word from Mia or Ralph. Not
Look
a
what
word
they did
from
to
them.
Success.
Look what they did in Success. Look how many young men would have lost their lives in this country. Not a word. Now they took Irfan Ali, carry Irfan to go and sign Argyle agreement. And now they ain't saying nothing. Huh? Guyanese people in Guyana and in the diaspora, you better wake up. We've got to wake up. These people must be held accountable for the nonsense that they're doing. Bloated voters list. We've seen coming out of the recount how many dead persons voted. How many persons who were not in this country voted. And yet Claudette is now telling us that we must go with that same list to elections. Outside of that, how do we trust Claudette, Mark, when Claudette came out in a press conference to say that they made a mistake with Miss Asha Kissoon being in Parliament, a member of Parliament?
And up to now, they can't correct the mistake.
And up to now, they can't correct that mistake. So how we can believe you? How we can...
Absolutely nothing they're doing to correct it. They're just happy to stand out that a mistake was made, but they're not taking any steps to correct it. And she's just sitting there as an illegal MP in the House of Parliament, where laws are being made, where you expect the laws to be upkeep.
So we call her the national squatter. Being propelled and upheld and everything by Claudette, the Speaker of the House, Bharat Jagdeo, Irfan Ali, the whole complete fraudulent installed crew. All of them accepting it. You know why? Because they know that once Asha is there, Asha will vote with them. So it is okay. Wrong has now become right in the eyes of these people. Claudette Singh must go. She must resign. She must resign. And of course, Mark, you know, we've got to touch on this cash transfers. What they call cash grants. Look, viewers, y'all don't be fooled. 3+ years, you couldn't get cash grants. 3+ years, you couldn't get water black tanks. But in 2025, they're finding 100,000 to give you, and they can come with more thousands. Collect it, but vote them out.
Vote them out.
Because if they allowed you to suffer for 4+ years, if they win the elections, if you allow them to win the elections, it's more than 4 years you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer for 5 years and 6 years and 7 years. So you got to collect the black tanks, collect the cash transfers, and vote them out. That's what we got to do. And with that thing came a whole lot of hiccups, which is saying to us clearly, these people ain't got a clue what they're doing. What's 200,000 for us instantaneously?
For household. And then they come to define what's a household. So they said 100,000 for everybody over the age of 18 years. First, it says it's going to be instantaneously, you're going to get your cash grants. And then the instantaneous turn into 6 months. And 6 months, they can't give funds to less than 500,000 people. Less than 500,000 people they're struggling to actually give cash grants to. If this country was 10 million or 20 million, I would understand. But less than 500,000, they're struggling to give these cash grants to. And they make it a really humiliating process. You have to go and join this long line just to register. And when you register, you have to go back to get your checks. You have to join a long line again to get your checks. Then you have to go to the bank and before when you collect your checks, you have to take a photo with you on these checks. Like if you're a prisoner. And then after they've taken your photo, you go to the bank. You have to join a long line in the bank, hoping that the bank has the cash to give you. So it's a very depressing, very frustrating process, a poorly organized process, and it's a poorly thought out process by PVP. Completely poorly thought out.
You know, it is so sad. And this here is a stark, not a reminder. It is telling us what is happening. Operator, we might need to have some sound here. It is telling us how desperate. So you see, this is telling us how desperate Guyanese people are. That this $100,000, they're going all out to get it. You see the confusion there? Now, if a proper system was put in place, then we would not have had that. What is the minister with responsibility for finance doing? Ashni Singh, get your act together.
Ashni Singh says nothing.
Get your act together. It's
the people at the Ministry of Finance fault.
We have never had these kinds of things happening during the coalition term of office. And as a government in waiting, we will not do this. We will put the monies in people's bank account. The pensioners will receive their monies when they go to the post office to collect their monies. Not this kind of nonsense. These people have absolutely no respect for the ordinary working class. Look, you have pensioners there. You got pregnant mothers there. Look the madness. We demand a government that has respect for our people. That's what we're demanding. And if you can't respect us, then you have to go. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all the time. And, you know, and then this thing about fear that grips our people, you know, people want to talk. People want to talk. People want to express themselves, but they are fearful that when I turn up to work tomorrow, I'll get a letter of dismissal, that I would not be able to do business. If I'm a contractor, I will not get any more contracts. If I'm doing this, I will not be able to get it anymore if I speak out. And that's the kind of fear that is gripping this country. That's the kind of fear that is gripping this country. But let me tell you what, there's a God. And he will deliver our people. And he will so instruct our people to do what they have to do. on that elections day. On that elections day, he will deliver the people. I mean, it is so, so crazy. So, so crazy. I mean, after 4 years, huh? After 4 years, we still can't get anywhere. You talk about, oh, the country with the fastest growing economy, the this, the that, the other, the other. Mark, it is so crazy. It is so crazy. The middleman, the accidents, the corruption here, the corruption there, the lying
Fires.
here, the lying there. Oh, you know, I want us, you see some of these people that we got here, some of these people who are sitting in high offices, we can pack all of them up in one of them canoes and send them right out there.
Well,
Right
the
out
last
there, we got to
election, we
send
packed them in
them.
black bags.
Right out there, you know, Barry Jagdeo jumps up and he talks about, oh, this person is dishonest, that person is this one can't pull 3 words, string 3 words to make a sentence, that one can. But these are the same people who bothering him, who giving him nightmare when the nights come. He can't sleep because of these same people who can't do this, who can't do that. You
And they
know,
were giving
people
him
living in
political donations.
people living in Linden gotta come to Georgetown to collect their checks. That same $100,000. I don't know how their checks reach to Georgetown. People living in Barbies, the check there somewhere else. I mean, what system is in place? None whatsoever, because these people have no vision. None whatsoever. But, you know, there's so much that we can talk about, Mark. But I notice that our time is catching up with us. But Mark, we must tap in a little bit on this issue with GRA. I don't want us to take over this because, I mean, they've got its own place. But GRA is a government institution that has been placed there
to collect tax on behalf of the government.
Exactly. If you bring in
it appears that they have
ahead,
political
Mark.
instructions, because
Well,
I cannot understand the Mohammeds. After 4 years, have to pay 900,000. What happened over the past 4 years?
In 14 days, they got paid too.
They have to pay within 14 days, but it's for cars that they bought since 2000. So 4 years would have passed. And I strongly believe that people were aware of all of this before, but because of the Mohammeds now are turning their sides, they suddenly remember that they have to pay these taxes, and they contacted the taxman who is responsible for taxes, telling him to make sure you pay these taxes. So this is just a vindictive process.
Well, you know, I am trying to find out. Who are the officers that conducted this transaction? Is it that we did not have officers there? Is it that these people, the Mohammeds, just walked into they walked in onto the wharf, they collect their vehicle, drive it out, they walk into GRA, process their own documents, give themselves their own numbers in terms of what they put on the number plate, the license numbers, and walk out? No, that's not so. There must have been officers who were there assigned to clear these vehicles. Now, if you clear these vehicles and you give a payment of this, and you in your opinion or in the document that you use, this was the taxes that were awarded to these vehicles, then it was paid 4 years ago. Now, Barry Jagdeo talking about what was not done, what the Mohammeds did not do. Then Jagdeo should be held accountable, since he knew that this was supposed to happen and he said absolutely nothing. Why is he waiting till now? Why he wait till now to talk about it? Why Jagdeo wait till now? Jagdeo should be held accountable, and Jagdeo should be made to pay the correct sums on the prime land that he is now occupying that was undervalued. Jagdeo should be made to pay for that.
And the whole
Priya and all the others should be made to pay.
The whole thing about it is that Irfan Ali was driving around in the very vehicles that they saying that they're undervalued, and they didn't pay enough tax for Irfan Ali, and Jagdeo were driving around in the people's vehicle.
Well, look at that. Look at that. Irfan Ali, during the recount, was using that same black, is it a Raptor or Ford? A Raptor, a black bulletproof one. He was using that.
Exactly.
Even when he was sworn in as president, that was the vehicle that he was using, because he didn't use the vehicle that President Granger was using. He didn't use that one. He was using that same black vehicle. So Irfan didn't know. I mean, very good then. Everything was nice and cozy then. But as soon as the young man decided he going out and do some outreaches, is big bacchanal in the house. And this is to say to us that Jagdio and all of them know that they have not been doing what is right. So when persons come out there and expose them, they feel that they can use their authority to trample you, to oppress you, to push you down, to burden you, like what they did to the young lady, Chevon Eastman, at Caneview in Mucka. Just what they did to her. That Toyota Tundra vehicle, according to somebody out there, that is what they did. They are using their authority now to trample the Mohammeds, just the same way they use their authority to trample on Chevron Green. And we've got to remember these things, viewers. We got to remember these things. We got to remember that the PPP are no good for Guyana. We must remember that. They weren't interested in your well-being all the time, but now, because it's an elections year, they're jumping all around to construct schools that they couldn't do in 4 years. They're jumping all around to construct hospitals that they couldn't do in 4 years. They're jumping all around to distribute black tanks, giant black chickens, black belly sheep, all kind of black, blue, all kind of thing they're jumping out now to give you that they could not give to you 4 years ago. Some people still holding the pink slips from the COVID grant. They're going to come around you with a whole lot of that. They're going to come around you to tell you this. They're going to come around you to tell you that. And you know what? We've got to be able to collect from them. Collect it from them. But give them the marching orders on that election day. Give them the marching orders. Mark, I don't know. That a thing. Black tanks, blackout, fake university, gold scholarship is slush fund. Made
Fires.
central exec, she was sanctioned by the UF, but they still got them, and they're claiming that anybody who associate with the Mohammeds, you are going to be sanctioned. But they got me right there with them. Right there with them.
With me.
So they are all part and parcel of the same business. Part and parcel of it, because you've been hearing Jagdio's name calling in so much. And you know, when it's not education crying out, and health and labor and public service and natural resources, is agriculture. We have the farmers crying out. They're talking about the rice farms. I think the operator will bring that one up. They're talking about what is happening in the rice industry. And we have always been saying, as a coalition, what we will do with agriculture in this country. What we will do with agriculture in this country. We've always been saying it. We will make agriculture number one in every single region. In every single region, we will make agriculture number one priority, because people must be able to produce where they live. And so you have the farmers protesting in every area, the rice farmers. And then when they go out there to protest, Zulfi, who is the Minister of Agriculture, he is the most arrogant of them all. He wants to tell the people that they must not talk, and they don't know what they're talking about. Operator, there's one, I think there's one there with a young man who is speaking from the Essequibo Coast, I think he was speaking there. And he was talking about the minister's arrogance. And I mean, if you did wrong things, you've done the people wrong, go out there, for heaven's sake, and apologize to the people and tell them that you're going to fix it. Don't be arrogant to them, because arrogance ain't going to work. Why are we doing that to our people? Why are we doing that to our people? Huh? Because you don't value them? That's why you're doing that to them? I mean, it's disgusting. Very, very, very disgusting. And we got to change that. We have to change. We have to change it.
But we got to change it. Next election.
We got to change it. We've got to change it. So operator, you're going to put these people up for us. Let me see some of these people that we want to send out there in the rice farms. Some that we want to send at the border.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see these people. Viewers, I want you to see these people who we got to send to some of these places. These people are nothing. These people are nothing but disgusting. And then we're having some of the people there who saying, oh, it's good. A lot of love sharing over this side. Come over this side. A lot of love sharing over this side. You know? When certain people cussing out another set of people, you don't hear anything. But when Dr. Hines speak his mind, you're hearing, oh, he's out of order. Oh, he's this.
He's racist.
Oh, he's that. ERC should come in, and this person should come in, and the other person should come in. I mean, if we're going to talk, we must talk every time. We don't be selective in our speeches. We don't be selective in our speeches. I know that I think Dr. Hines should be on at some point. But Mark, we're gonna have your closing remarks while we show Chevron, while we put up Chevron there and what they would have done to the people in Mocha.
Well, I would just like to remind the people that your votes do have power. You do have power in your votes. You do have power in your right index finger. And must always believe that you employ PPP, or PP was actually installed, and you employ them, and you can make them unemployed, and just make sure that the next election that comes around, you vote PPP out, because as we would have gone through here, you would have seen all the controversies that PPP has been in. They've been in the gold controversy. They've had fires after fires. They had the soldier who died because of the negligence of the hospitals. We saw the corruptions in PPP, the corruptions at the different ministries in PPP, corruption at housing, corruption at health, corruption at education, corruption at home affairs, corruption at labor, corruption at natural resources. We see GCOM and how GCOM is aligning themselves with PPP, and how the chairman of GCOM is aligning himself with PPP. We would have gone through PPP and the Mohammeds. We would have also gone through the cash grants, and we would have also gone through the debts on the PPP. So we would have seen that we would have made the argument that PPP is certainly the party that you would not be voting for come the next election, whenever the election is called.
But as we look at this young lady here and the destruction that was done at Mocha, I just want to zero in before we go a little, Mark, on the death of this young fireman. Mm-hmm. Were these injuries that he received were they so grave that we couldn't say that this young man could not have been saved, Mark? I mean,
he could definitely be saved. The most of what would have happened with him would have been
paralyzed.
Yes, would have been paralyzed, but he would have definitely been saved. He would have just required some specialist care. And obviously, the hospital boasts at how they have all these sophisticated surgeries and these sophisticated medical devices. But the basic device that they need to save him, they didn't have it. As a result, he died. So he could definitely be saved. He didn't have to die. So here it
is. A young man, this young man did not have to die, but he died as a result of negligence. And so a mother is left without her son. Guyanese, let's pray for each other. Let's pray and ask that God continue to bless our people and help them to see what they ought to do so that we can move on. We can build a better society. We can rebuild a Guyana where all will feel privileged and all will feel inclusive, and all will be inclusive and included, and there will be equity amongst all. And so I'm seeing Vanessa saying critical care wasn't administered to that young man. And yes, so here we have a doctor who is saying the very same thing. I mean, I read that they had to strap him down. They got to tie down his hand and tie down his foot. I mean, come on. Look, we've got to do better. And to do better, we need a better team. Anytime you're installed, it means that you did not go there as a result of the will of the people. You went there under fraudulent circumstances, and we don't want fraudulent people to govern us. No wonder we're having all the things that are happening. We see every 2 days, ordinary citizens beating up policemen, policemen fighting with ordinary citizens, maybe bus conductor, bus driver, car driver. Every 2 days we're seeing this. You know why? Because this society has become lawless. And it has become lawless because the people at the top lawless. It is disgusting. And then they take no responsibility for what they do. None whatsoever. Mark, I want to thank you for being with us here. And I want to thank all of our viewers for being with us here. We'll see you again next week. But before I go, let me remind us that there's a school on the quarantine, Winifred Gaskin Memorial Secondary School at Manchester, where we are hearing that the government is planning to sell that school. That school was established as a result of self-help because of the disturbances in 1964. Ordinary people did labor there for free, and they built that school. And we will not allow the likes of the PPP to sell that, because they're Peter sellers. You know, everything they're selling along Carifesta Avenue, they break down GNS, they break down NIS ground, they sell it out. It seems as if they will want to even sell us. Because remember, Barra Jagdeo said, oh, we can give a channel to Venezuela. I figure that is what was said in public. I don't know what else was said in private, and maybe that is why Maduro is acting up. And so if we don't watch ourselves, we might all be sold one of these days. With that, I want to say to you, we've seen a surge in dengue fever. So be very, very careful with stagnant water that you have around. If you have to use bleach and whatever disinfectant, throw in your water, clean your yards and so on, and ensure that you stay safe. If you don't have mosquito nets, then ensure that you have mosquito repellents so that you can use those to be safe. Because you go to Georgetown Hospital, they can give you Panadol, you're dead. And it's as straight as that. It's as straight as that. So folks, take care. Love all of you. Marlene Thomas, everybody. Thank you for being here. Kim, Bantu, Denise, Keith, Vanessa, Kim, Troy, Rena, Eileen, everybody. Thank you for being here. And you spread the word that in order for Guyana to grow, the PPP must go. Do have a good night, and we'll see you again next Wednesday for more on advancing the cause. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.